Hi everyone. We'll wait for a couple of minutes and then we'll start. Hi Veda.
Hi Nisha, hi everyone. Good evening, how are you?
All good, excited for the session.
So am I.
Hi everyone. Would love to see your faces. If you can, please put on your videos so we can see those around. Great. So I think we'll start. I think a few people will join after as well, but we can start. Hi everyone. My name is Anisha Parekh, and I'm one of the co-founders of StarterSky. Amira Mehta is the other co-founder. And StarterSky is basically a community for young founders to grow, learn, build, and support each other. So what we do is we feature young founders on our platform. We share playbooks. We host events and programs for all our founders. So today our outreach partner is Visey. We have Ridhima from Visey here. And Visey is an assistive platform for entrepreneurs to get resources, resource recommendations for their startups' unique needs in seconds. So do check that out as well. So I'm super excited today to introduce our speaker. Really exciting and interesting profile, and is doing some amazing stuff. So Vedanarayan, we're going to call him Veda or Ved, whatever you prefer. Veda is a B2B business leader who has driven consistent revenue impact through integrated marketing and sales effort. He possesses industry expertise in SaaS, fintech, health tech, and edtech domains. After working at Microsoft, he grew multiple startups from pre-unicorns to unicorn stages and beyond that. So some of the startups he has worked with is our Razorpay, Simplilearn, HealthifyMe, and he is also a visiting professor at multiple IIMs. So everyone get as much information and absorb as much as you can from Veda, because honestly, he's got a lot of knowledge that you guys wish you all have. Right. So thank you everyone for being here today. Very excited to start. On to you, Veda. I think giving you the stage now. And I think the way we'll work it is let Veda start with his, what he wants to go through. And then at the end of it, we can have question and answers and question and answer session. Great. To you.
Thank you so much, Anisha. For some reason, I'm not able to share my computer audio. I had a couple of media elements that I wanted to play in the deck, but I'm not seeing that option to share audio. It's saying to share audio, share a tab. I'm not able to share it off the presentation for some reason. That's okay. We'll just talk through it. Give me a second. Let me bring it up. Let me know once you guys see my screen. My screen visible, folks, in slideshow mode?
It's not in slideshow, but we, okay, now we could see.
Let me try again. Give me a second. Give me a second. It will work now. This should work. Visible now?
Yes.
Okay, so what we're going to do, first of all, super excited to be here. Thank you so much, Anisha, for having me over. Like she mentioned, I've had an interesting set of adventures across multiple startups, B2C, B2B, serve as a visiting professor in marketing at a few B schools and a startup mentor, working with a few startup accelerator programs and a few early stage startups like yourself. Great to see so many bright young faces here on a Saturday evening. I decided to spend time here at this webinar instead of watching the World Test Championship final, which is a really exciting game, I might add. It's poised beautifully. So today what we'll try and do is we'll keep this as interactive as it can get. So we have, I think, almost an hour ahead of us. So what I'll try and do is I'll take you through a bunch of different stories, as I like to call it, a bunch of adventures that I've been a part of, I've been privileged to be part of across B2C and B2B companies. Before we get into that, one of the first things that we'll discuss is, as an entrepreneur, one of the questions, and I'll address the elephant in the room, which is a question that I often get asked, is, Veda, I understand all aspects of digital, but tell me, for my dhanda, for my business, how do I prioritize my digital efforts, customer acquisition efforts? So I'll give you a simple playbook or a framework which you can apply for your respective startups, which can help you prioritize your digital marketing efforts, your media mix, your channel selection. Then I'll take you through a bunch of different case studies which talk about the journeys, some specific problem statements that we solved at Razorpay, at HealthifyMe, at Simplilearn, and how AI played a role in some of these. I'll take you through that. And then we'll wrap up by looking at, I'll give you a sneak peek into this dreaded, holy, much abused V word in marketing, which is virality. I'll take you through that as well. Having said that context, one of the first questions like I get asked is the prioritization conundrum. What you see before you here are some of the usual suspects in terms of, the most popular marketing channels, digital marketing channels that are often used for a startup or for that matter for any organization. What I often hear is, Anisha, as an entrepreneur, she tells me, listen, Veda, I get all of this. I know what each of these do, but I don't know for my startups, what should I prioritize relative to the other? So over the next few minutes, I'll give you a simple framework which will help you make this kind of a prioritization decision. Now, I'm sure all of you understand what Facebook ads and LinkedIn ads are, but I'm sure most of you know what SEM and SEO are, but just for the benefit of the few of you who might not, and just to baseline everybody's understanding, SEM stands for search engine marketing. Let's understand this with a simple example. Let's say Anisha is planning her holiday. She goes to Google and she searches for resorts in Lonavala, right? Now, what you need to understand is that every time somebody searches for something on Google search, a real-time virtual auction actually happens. Now, it's very similar to the auction in a real world. Let's say I'm looking to auction this OnePlus phone. You've got various people bidding for the right to buy that phone. It's an old phone, so we don't want to pay a lot for it. And the person who bids the highest ends up winning that auction. In a very similar fashion, in this case, you've got various advertisers now who bid for the right to serve their advertisement in the first spot in the Google search keyword results for that particular keyword search. In this case, let's assume hypothetically for Anisha's search, let's say booking.com has bid $100, $100, 100 rupees, and Make My Trip has bid say 50 rupees for that keyword. Now, while there are multiple parameters that influence which brand's advertisement actually comes upon top, For the most part, what ad comes up on top is influenced by whoever has bid the highest. In this case, given that booking.com has bid higher, Anisha would see in her search results page, she would see booking.com, which is shown right at the top with an ad tag against it, followed by make my trip with an ad tag again. Now, if she were to click on any of these links, let's say she clicks on booking.com gets charged 100 rupees by Google, which is cost per click, CPC advertising. Now, you as a startup founder, as an entrepreneur, as a marketer, all of the efforts that you undertake to make sure that for relevant keyword search queries on Google search, your brand's advertisement actually shows up on Google search is referred to as SEM, search engine marketing. You can set this up for free on AdWords. You go to adwords.google.com. You can sign up for this for free. You get charged only when somebody clicks on your Google search ad. Now, this is paid advertising. Now, if Anisha ignores all of this and she scrolls a little further down in the same search results page, she would see a bunch of listings which do not have the ad tag listed against them. These are based purely on merit. It's a purely meritocratic decision taken by Google's organic search ranking algorithm on which is the website, which is the landing page, which is the blog page that has the that has content that is the most relevant to the user search query, that has the freshest content, the most relevant content, that has the best user experience, has the least latency, loads really quickly, right? Based on a bunch of different parameters such as these, it creates a lot of these different websites and landing pages and decides which are the websites that need to bubble up higher and higher in Google's organic search ranking algorithm. Now, all of the efforts, again, that you as an entrepreneur, as a startup founder, you undertake to make sure that for relevant keyword search queries, your website, your landing page actually shows up on top on Google's organic search ranking algorithm is referred to as SEO, search engine optimization. We'll talk about SEO a little bit further, topic that I'm very passionate about, in the presentation. But having said that context, let's dive in and let's, Anisha, if you don't mind, I'll take your example again. Let's say that Anisha is saying that, Veda, I get all of this. Now tell me, for my startup, what should I prioritize, one relative to the other? I mean, we all understand that marketing is a team sport. It's a bit like football, right? You've got a defender who passes the ball to a midfielder, who passes it to a Messi or a Ronaldo who scores the goal, and they take away all of the credit. But it's a teamwork that has actually made that goal happen. In a very similar fashion, for a customer to be acquired, you need all of the marketing channels to work in conjunction and reinforce that brand message and reiterate that message for the customer to eventually convert. However, given that what Anisha tells me is all of this gyan is fine, but I'm not Flipkart, I'm not Amazon, I don't have a large team, I don't have a huge budget. So if I had to prioritize one versus the other, what is that one thing that I should do for my dhanda, for my business? So the first thing that Anisha needs to do in an attempt to answer this question is she needs to ask herself an additional question. The category or the space that she is operating in, is that mass or is that niche? Is she a small fish in a really large pond, or is she a large fish in a small pond? Now, there are a couple of ways in which Anisha can answer this, right? One is, as an entrepreneur, she has this gut-based instinct. She can have this subjective assessment that she can make. You know what? I'm selling saris online. I'm selling t-shirts online. I'm probably mass. I conduct mental wellness programs online for people suffering from mental depression. I'm probably niche, right? That's a subjective gut-based assessment that she can make. But after all, this is a session on digital. So there is a more objective data-backed way for her to validate or challenge that original hypothesis. So wherein she opens up any of these different keyword planners, and I'll talk to you about some popular keyword planners, which you see here. SEM, I think some of you might have heard these names. Quick show of hands if some of you have heard these names. SEO Moz, SEM Rush, I think some of you must have heard these names. SEO Moz, these are very popular keyword analytics platforms. And within Google AdWords as well, you have a keyword analytics platform called as a keyword planner. What do these platforms do? Very simply put, you enter any keyword there, or you enter your website, they'll crawl your website and recommend keywords for which you should try to create content for, so you can rank. Or if you already have a keyword in mind, you can enter that and you can get a sense of monthly keyword search volumes for that particular keyword. Now, what do these keyword search volumes actually represent? Right? If you think about it at a very deep-rooted level, what these keyword search volumes represent are actually customer demand patterns, right? Because it gives you a sneak peek into two kinds of demand patterns. One is it gives you a sense of, let's say, for buy saris online. Let's say Anisha is she runs an e-commerce shop where she sells saris and lehengas to NRIs, for example, right? And if she searches for what are the kind of search volumes for buy saris online for people from living outside India, just as an example, or people living in India, for that matter, buy saris online, right? Best sari prices, best sari shops online, keywords like these. These keyword search volumes, if there are 20,000 searches, 15,000 searches, 5,000 searches a month, they represent customer demand patterns. What is A, the size of the demand, which is represented by the size of the number itself, and B, the directional pointers it gives you, right, in terms of qualitative indicators. What are the kind of things that people are searching for? What are their key motivation factors? What are their key inertia points? Now, it's probably the best customer research that you can ever undertake. I don't know why in this day and age, people still waste time in door-to-door sampling and statistical research when you got all of the insights, customer insights, market insights that you can ask for available on Google keyword search trends. I use the term Google search and search almost synonymously because at least in the Indian context, it's an absolute monopoly. They have a 90% plus market share. So if you can make sure that you can mine these keyword analytic keywords and keywords and keyword search patterns, and you can draw a lot of insights from that for your startup, when that's like the best research that you can do. And which is why for any early stage startup like yourself, one of the most critical elements of your digital marketing growth toolkit would be a keyword analytics platform. Yeah. So now what Anisha does is she looks at core keywords relevant to her category, relevant to her dhanda, and she sees what are the kind of monthly keyword search volumes. Now, it's not a perfect science. It is a part art. Now, you can go with the rule of thumb assumption that if the monthly keyword search volumes for core keywords relevant to Anisha's business, if they are in excess of 15, 20,000 searches a month, you can assume that Anisha is operating in a category which is quote unquote mass. If it is less than that, she's operating in a niche category. Now, what does she do if she's mass? She prioritizes Google search, a combination of SEM and SEO. Why? Because it's common sense. Now, Anisha may not be Flipkart, she may not be Amazon, she may not have hundreds of millions of dollars in marketing budgets to create new user behavior. But what she can very well do is she can piggyback and ride the wave on existing user behavior patterns that are already manifesting at scale on Google search. In this case, Anisha is lucky. She hasn't done anything. She's lucky enough to find herself operating in a category where somebody else has already done the hard work. She's probably a lucky second mover or a third mover. Somebody else has already done the hard work, or there is a larger macroeconomic behavioral pattern at play, which is why there are huge volumes of these keyword searches which are already happening, which are relevant to her business. All she has to do is to ride the wave, make sure that her brand's either advertisement or an SEO search result actually shows up on top for relevant keyword search queries. Now, not all of us can be that lucky. Let's say Anisha is not that lucky. She's operating in a category which is niche, which means that the keyword search volumes are not high. They're fairly small. She's trying to not just build a brand, but she's trying to build a category in itself. So there's not a lot of existing keyword search volume that she can piggyback on. So what does she do? She doesn't directly go to Facebook or any of these visually appealing media. She asks herself an additional question. Am I operating in a category which affords me as a startup founder an opportunity to strike a very strong emotional bond with my target customers? And can I inject a very strong visual element in my marketing communication? If the answer to this is yes, she makes Facebook a focus. And we'll talk about this a little bit more when we get to the HealthifyMe example. A lot of these are more applicable, obviously, in B2C. In B2B, if and she's running a business, that and the kind of companies that she sells to, B2B is of course business. The kind of companies that she sells to, the key decision makers who decide yay or nay, right, for her product or service, or the influencers for that decision. If they are white collar working professionals who are fairly active on LinkedIn, then LinkedIn becomes a logical choice again. For example, at HealthifyMe, how many of you have heard of HealthifyMe? Quick show of hands. Some of you have. Hopefully some of you are paying customers as well. You see the marketing funnel right there. You see a bunch of hands went down when I said paying customers. HealthifyMe, unknown to a lot of you may not know this, we also had and still has a B2B business as well, wherein it provided employee wellness engagement solutions for a lot of large corporate houses in India, the who's who of large corporate houses, Ashok Leyland, Cognizant, Infosys, etc. So where the CHRO, Chief Human Resource Officer, was a primary decision maker. So we essentially ran LinkedIn account-based marketing campaigns targeting anybody who was a director of HR and above, or somebody who was a CXO, in a list of 5,000 named accounts that we came up with, which had 2,000 or more employees. So essentially, so that we don't waste our money running ads to irrelevant people, we specifically said these are list of accounts, and within these companies, I want to run ads only on the feeds of those people on LinkedIn who have these kinds of designations, director plus in HR, or they are CXO, regardless of the department they belong to, because they are senior enough influence or sway the decision. Yeah. So that is the case. LinkedIn becomes a choice. But I've mentored multiple edtech companies which sell to schools, where the school principal is the primary decision maker. And unfortunately, at least in India, not a lot of school principals are there on LinkedIn. Of course, you could still use a YouTube or a Facebook to go after this audience, but you're using a very mass platform for going after a very niche audience. So in such cases, I often tell them that you're better off using a channel partnership route for going after this audience, because these are high gestation cycle, long sales cycles. You need a lot of trust to be built, with these decision makers for you to be able to drive sales and drive closure. So you work with a partner who already has the network and the equity established with these schools, bundle your offering along with theirs and have a revenue share arrangement. That's a better go-to-market approach. Now, we saw what happens if Anisha is operating. If she's super lucky, she's operating in a mass category. If she's a little less lucky, she's operating in a niche category, which is high on personal connect. You saw what she does if she's in B2B. Now, what happens if, coming back to her original train of thought, if she's operating in what I like to call a double whammy category, right, where she's super unlucky. She's operating in a category which is niche, which means not a lot of keyword search volume for core keywords related to her dhanda. And to make matters worse, the nature of her category is such that the personal connect is also low. In certain categories, it happens naturally. In certain categories, it doesn't. For example, this was exactly the problem statement that we faced at Razorpay. I'm sure all of you have heard of Razorpay. So hopefully some of you are customers of Razorpay as well. At Razorpay, I used to head the startup and the SMB business. And at Razorpay, we had this exact same problem, right? So Razorpay is for those of you who may not have heard of Razorpay, is India's largest payment aggregation service, provides payment gateway, payment link, payment page solutions, etc. So keyword search, this is a B2B payments company. The target customer is people like you, right? Startup owners, SME business owners, founders, etc. And this is not peer-to-peer payments like Google Pay or PhonePe or Paytm, right? So the keyword search volumes are not huge in terms of people searching for payment gateway. There are payment solutions on my website, searches like these, right? So, and the personal connect is also low, because let's face it, unlike say weight loss, like in Healthify case, or fashion, like in Mitra, nobody wakes up in the morning, jumps out of bed and gets excited about the fact that they want to start using a payments product. It's just not glamorous, right? So Facebook and a lot of these visually appealing media are also not obvious choices. So in this case, what we did was we went slightly outside of the realm of immediate relevance of our business, and we picked out slight adjacencies to the business. And we picked out three through our keyword research. We used SEMrush, and we picked three thematic keyword clusters where there were enough of search volumes for our target demographic cohort, which is the entrepreneur persona. So we picked on digital literacy as cluster one. So where founders like yourself are searching for stuff like, how do I use LinkedIn for growing my B2B business? How do I use Instagram for growing my social media brand presence? Financial literacy, a lot of startup founders came, like yourself, young founders came from a tech background. They had no idea how to even read a P&L and a balance sheet. So we created content around how do you read a P&L and a balance sheet? How do you create your first cash flow statement for your startup? Content like these. Compliance, a lot of them did not understand how GST worked, creating GST tax calculators for them. Now, Anisha might say, listen, Veda, what is the relevance for these keyword clusters to Razorpay's business? You're right, it's not a lot. But the relevance for these keyword thematic areas to the target customer is a lot, right? And more importantly, the kind of keyword search volumes. So these kinds of keyword search themes are much larger than core dhanda-centric keyword clusters like B2B payments, payment gateway, online payment gateway, etc. And which gave the brand exposure to a larger eyeball universe. We were able to engage, nurture them over time, and convert them into paying customers. Of course, the people coming in through this funnel did not have the same level of intent as somebody who would come in through a targeted performance marketing ad, but I'm still getting relevant audiences in. I'm still getting an entrepreneur, right? A startup founder persona. It's just that I'm catching them at a slightly different moment of truth, not when they're looking for a payment solution, but when they're looking to learn about social media marketing, or when they're looking to learn about how to create a P&L or a balance sheet, looking to learn about GST, etc. So we gave the brand exposure without spending a lot of money. So all of the stuff that we did here was SEO led. So we got the brand exposure to a larger eyeball universe. We were able to engage, nurture them over time, and convert them into paying customers. The leads we got in from here, while still relevant, just to reiterate my point, they didn't have the highest levels of intent. So these were still leads and a pipeline that we were building for the future, right? For the medium and the long term, because they wouldn't, our regular sales cycle, which is the average time it takes for a lead to become a paying customer, if that was 4 weeks, the sales cycle here was close to 6 months. But I'm still building a strong enough pipeline for the future, and I'm not spending a lot on marketing. I'm spending close to zero, because all of this came through our SEO efforts. Now, having said that context, let's dive into the HealthifyMe case study. Like, I think a lot of hands went up. I think a lot of you recognize, HealthifyMe. HealthifyMe is India's largest health tech fitness application. It's a freemium application. What does freemium mean? As a business model, certain aspects are free, plus certain aspects are premium. It's a play on free plus premium, freemium. The free services include, it has the world's largest database of Indian foods that are accurately mapped to calorie breakdowns, vitamins, proteins, carbs, etc. So regardless of whether you're having a Mumbai vada pav, or whether you're having a Tamil Nadu sapad thali, or whether you're having a Kashmiri thali, or something from Assam, you'll be able to know how many calories you've consumed, vitamins, proteins, carbs, you've gone for a swim, you've done a set of Surya Namaskars, you know how many calories you've burnt. It's like a daily diary for calorie counting and calorie burn, right? Calorie intake and calorie burn, which makes people a lot more mindful of their eating habits and workout patterns. Now, that's the free service. The premium service involves creating a series of bespoke, custom designed nutrition, fitness, and yoga plans as per the health goals of the user. Because some people want to lose weight, some people want to gain muscle, some people want to get a six-pack ab before Valentine's Day. We used to get a lot of these requests, especially from young men like yourself. And regardless of whatever are the requirements that people have, some people just want strength and flexibility. Regardless, depending on, some people want to overcome hypertension, diabetes, whatever the health goals are, designing these. To begin with, we offered the premium services only using human-led nutritionist fitness coaches. Over time, we also had an AI overlay, and we offered smart plans, which were completely powered using Rhea, who's a she, who was the AI-powered chat nutritionist who would help you achieve your, your health goals, whatever they are. Now, having said that context, the biggest problem statement that we had to encounter from as a startup founder, as a marketer, is inertia, because this is proactive health tech, unlike say a Practo, which is reactive, which means that in Practo's case, the person is already sick. They want to find a doctor, right? In this case, the person is not actually sick. They don't want to fall sick in future, right? So they want to get ahead of the curve, and they want to proactively take care and take charge of their health. So getting people to overcome that inertia barrier was the biggest thing that we had to solve for. The second thing is relatability. And how do you help? You're essentially helping people discover healthier and fitter versions of themselves. That's very close to the personal identity of an individual, right? How do you get people to hand over their health and fitness needs to a mobile application and drive relatability? That doesn't come easy, right? So that was the other big challenge. And we went about from a brand. Unfortunately, these videos I don't think will play, or even if if they do play, they'll play without the audio.
You want
not
to
sure
try
if I
one,
should do.
Veera?
Sorry?
You want to try one to see if...
I didn't find it. Just yeah, I'll try. Go ahead. Just give me a second. Let me try again if there is an option. Computer sound, background and effects.
Okay, it's fine. We can move.
Let me try 1 second. Give me a second. I'll try anyway. Let me play them. See if you're able to. Let me know if you're able to hear the sound.
Fitness? I'm so out of it. Relax. Just need to get the...
Is it playing?
Yeah.
Are you hearing the sound?
Yes.
You're hearing the sound?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I'll play it then. That's good to know.
Fitness? I'm so out of it. Relax. Just need to get the hang of it. For the kick of it. For the fun of it. For the rush of it. The chill of it. The ease of it. The taste of it. Just make the most of it.
For the love of fit, get all of it on the CureFit app and be better every day.
That's the Cult Fit, which is the key competitor. That's their stereotypical brand communication. Now take a look at the HealthifyMe stereotypical brand ad.
I was in the US for around 3 years, and in the US culture, you will always take junk food like pizza, and you will hang out with people, with teammates. So continuously, I was having lots of junk food, and I found I put on a lot of weight. So I thought I should do something to lose my weight. So I was searching on Google, and I found most recommended app as HealthifyMe. Hi, my name is Christian, and I'm 35 years old. I work for an IT corporate industry in banking. So I started using this app from the month of March 2019. It's been 6 months now. I'm using this app. When I started, I was 94. After using this app 4 to 5 months, I am at 74. So I lost around 20 kg. What I found very intelligent because it has individual smart diet. What it provides you, it has a calorie mention, and as per smart plan, you can eat 300 to 350 calories on your each meal. So for example, your diet plan says you need to eat drumstick with a couple of chapatis. So if you do not have drumstick in your stores, of course, simply you can find alternative dishes from same menu section which contains the equivalent calories, and simply you can have that in your diet. My favorite feature about this app, it actually logs your daily meals routine, and it actually tells you have eaten extra calories today, and which actually pushes you hard to extra workout to balance the day. Another thing most I like about this app, the menu section with the individual dishes and the recommendation for alternate dishes which you can actually eat. And once you achieve the extra milestone, it actually allows you to eat an extra cheat meal, which is of course the best part. So after this transformation, I feel great. I feel so much energetic. I can run faster. I do gym every day. I have a small kid. Whole day I play with him once I'm back from my office, and after that also I don't feel tired. So it is amazing. The people around me have been stunned, after seeing such transformation, and they will keep on asking, how I was managed to do it. And trust me, it feels great to advise them. And trust me, that is the reason I have been in touch with HealthifyMe team to create this testimonial so that I can inspire many others. I 200% recommend this app to my friends and family, especially the smart plan. And if you are really serious about losing your weight, don't think about it, go for it. Cheers to HealthifyMe.
So as you can see, right, bunch of different differences in the approach of both the brands, which I'm sure all of you have noticed yourself. Quick reactions from anyone? Maybe spend 60 seconds, very quick observations, reactions. As you can see, these guys, CultFit, they use people who are already very good looking, people who look like Greek gods, right? In their brand messaging, they have a Hrithik Roshan, Milind Soman, all of these kinds of KL Rahul, Tiger Shroff, Disha Patani, these kinds of people, right? These are the people who regularly feature in their communication. Even the models they used are very good looking people, right? And it's very fitness led. It has a very youthful vibe and a very energetic vibe to it. It has that buzz. Whereas if you look at the HealthifyMe communication, I'm not sure if this group would like it, and I'll tell you why as well. It is a lot more relatable. It features everyday people, slightly older demographic cohort, closer to my age group than probably the audience here in this call. And there's a reason for it, and I'll tell you the reason as well a little further along. And it is very nutrition-led, because HealthifyMe focused a lot on nutrition-led communication as opposed to fitness, because nutrition is a bigger determinant of your overall well-being than the workouts you do. And it is a first-party, authentic life transformation narrative. It's a testimonial style narrative as opposed to a third-party narrative in the cult case. And there were multiple reasons for this. We'll go through that. And one of the big questions that we had, and which was also another thing that we discussed internally, is should we talk about the dreaded W word in our brand positioning, right? Which is weight loss. There were a lot of people who said that we shouldn't really talk about it because it might bring down the aspirational index of the brand. Because we want to talk about it because through our keyword search again, we have noticed that India is, of course, unfortunately enough, one of the obesity capitals of the world. And a lot of people are looking for weight loss solutions. They want to lose weight, literally. So in a lot of communications, at the end of the day, you're creating a brand for your target customers, not for yourself. Right? So we decided we'll talk about what our customers are asking for, which is weight loss solutions at the end of the day. So a lot of the communications spoke about, I lost 6 kilograms in 3 months, I lost 10 kilograms in a year. And we tried to make it tangible as opposed to talking about health as a very amorphous thing, which is very vague, which was another clear difference and a differentiation from how Cult went about doing it. From the mobile marketing perspective, it is a mobile app. It's an app-only platform. The website is just a corporate information providing repository. There's nothing much on the website. No services can be availed. So the mobile app essentially, from a mobile marketing perspective, I had a huge culture shock when I first joined HealthifyMe, because in all of my previous experiences, it was always Google search, which was the #1 ROI dhanda driver. Facebook was always more of a glorified brand channel, right, with very limited ROI attribution. Whereas in this case, it was actually it was actually Facebook, which was the #1 ROI driver, for the reason that I mentioned earlier, because HealthifyMe operates in the health and fitness space, very close to the personal identity of an individual, visually enticing. So as a brand, all of the communication that we did was testimonial-led, video-style communication. Check. All of this works really well on Facebook, which is why Facebook was our #1 acquisition lever. And we went through a very interesting journey, and we had like so many different Facebook campaigns running concurrently at any given point in time, each of them personalized and targeting a particular demographic cohort. So a middle-aged man suffering from hypertension would see a testimonial video on his feed featuring somebody like himself whom he can relate with in that particular testimonial video. A young woman who's looking to gain strength and flexibility would again see a testimonial video of somebody like herself. So it was personalized at scale. A young man who wants to get a six-pack gap for Valentine's Day, he would see somebody from his own demographic cohort again in the testimonial advertisement. Now, we went through a very interesting journey with Google. Google, a few years ago, launched something called as UAC campaigns, which are called Universal App Campaigns, which essentially was one of the earliest attempts to let AI actually take over customer acquisition efforts. And they've perfected it now. Everybody does this. But when they first launched it, everybody hated this, right? Because you essentially had to say, in Google Baba, we trust, give up control. Nobody likes to give up control. You had to give Google your creatives, your landing page, your apps listing, etc. And Google would decide. Google's AI algorithm would decide. Machine learning algorithms would decide who to run the ad for, when and where, in which channel. You as a marketer had very limited control. You could, of course, just say that my overall target segment is metro cities in India or Middle East, Southeast Asia, whatever. But beyond that, you had very limited control. When we first launched UAC campaigns, again, the results were pretty poor. But what we did was we persisted with it and we implemented something called as the Google Pixel, which is, some of you might come from a tech background, you would understand what that means. It's a small piece of JavaScript code, which is implemented in your mobile website's front-end code or your app's front-end code that executes or runs every time your page is rendered, and it passes information back into the Google ecosystem. Think of it as a spy or a mole that is sitting within your own application, passing information back to its masters, which in this case is Google. Now, let's understand this with a simple example. Anisha, I'm going to take your name again. So let's say Anisha comes and subscribes on the HealthifyMe app. She registers. She's completed an upstream life cycle event in her life cycle of engagement with the HealthifyMe application. So I capture this information and I send this into Google, completely anonymized and aggregated. I don't send Anisha's personally identifiable information. I don't share her name, email address, phone number. I just share information that Anisha is a millennial from Mumbai. She likes fashion. She likes the Mumbai Indians. She likes to watch cricket. Right? I'm just making it up. Right? I pass this information into the Google ecosystem. Let's say Anisha continues to consume content on the app. Right? And she picks up maybe a 7-day free trial. Important midstream life cycle event. I pass this information back. Essentially her digital psychographic profile, that essentially is what I'm passing. I like to call it a digital Janam Kundali of Anisha, right? Or a digital horoscope of Anisha is what I'm passing. Eventually, Anisha maybe spends $10,000 and picks up a 6-month yoga plan. Now, she's taken a very important downstream event, right? She's moved from being a free user to a paying customer. So I capture this event again and I tell Google, I give this the highest weightage. I'm oversimplifying the example, obviously. And what I tell Google is, Google, Anisha represents a good customer for me, good profile. Find me 100 more Anishas, right, who have the same digital Janam Kundali as Anisha does. So Google obviously uses its AI and ML algorithms to actually find more of these Anishas. Obviously, there is a catch. The catch is that for the AI algorithm to work well and give you accurate representations, it needs to have scale. It needs to be trained on a large enough data set of your customer profile, of these Anishas, for it to know who are the right kind of customers for you. So when we initially fed it information of one Anisha and asked it for the next 100, it struggled to give accurate representative clones of Anisha. But when we persisted with it, gave it information of 1,000 Anishas and asked it to find the next 100,000, it was able to do that. This is what I'd like to call AI-driven inside-out targeting. Now, the traditional form of targeting is outside in, wherein you as a startup founder, you decide who your ICP, your ideal customer persona is, and you run campaigns towards that source of truth. In this case, you're letting AI and you're letting user behavior within your own application either validate or challenge your original hypothesis of who your ideal customer persona is. When we started off at HealthifyMe, we thought like everybody else that the millennial was the ideal customer persona. Turns out it wasn't. It was actually people from my age group, people who were older, who were the ideal customer persona, because these people were less fit. They were more prone to lifestyle conditions like a hypertension or a diabetes. They had a greater ability to pay. So when we first gave the brief to the AI-driven campaigns, they initially ran ads to everybody. Over time, it started running ads because it noticed that the younger cohorts were not converting. They were using the app for free, right? They were just counting their calories and leaving. They were not buying anything. It started running more and more ads toward the older demographic segment, which is why if you notice a lot of the HealthifyMe ads, it would be nutrition-led, more relatable, have a more laid-back pace, have older protagonists as opposed to younger ones, because those were the ones who were converting for HealthifyMe. We'll move on to the Simplilearn story really quickly. Simplilearn, for those of you who might not have heard, is one of the world's leading edtech companies providing upskilling, reskilling solutions in digital marketing, data science, iOS, Android programming, etc. Now, whatever we looked at, right, from HealthifyMe and even from Razorpay for that matter, was more from a customer acquisition perspective. Now, what are the objectives of marketing? There are two objectives, right, at a very philosophical level. One, acquire net new customers for your startup. Second is engage and nurture people who are already in your pipeline, who already have an interface with your brand, who've already had a touch point with your website, with your app. They know you. How do you engage, nurture them over the sales cycle and extract enough monetization juice from that audience, right? That's engagement and nurture. So in the Simplilearn case, let's, I'll take you through what were some of the things. And Simplilearn is one of the best examples of engagement and nurture driven through marketing automation. And I'll talk about what marketing automation is as well in just a minute. It's about across your sales cycle. Sales cycle, what is sales cycle? Sales cycle is the average time it takes for a lead to become a paying customer. A lead is somebody who comes and signs up on your website. A paying customer is somebody who pays you money. What is the average time it takes? Now, this average time differs depending on the kind of business. If you're Infosys, the sales cycle is probably 1-2 years. If you're Domino's Pizza, the sales cycle is probably 30 minutes, right? Or maybe 5 minutes. If you're in Simplilearn's case or in HealthifyMe's case, the sales cycle was 4 weeks, approximately a month, which is how long people took to decide before becoming a paying customer. Now, how do you, during this time frame, engage and nurture this pipeline of leads during this time frame in an automated fashion? Is called engagement and nurture, and you can drive this through this marketing automation platform. In terms of the critical elements of any startup's toolkit, I mentioned keyword analytics platforms. Add marketing automation to that list. I'll give you some suggested platforms as well. So let's understand this with a simple example. Let's say that Anisha signs up on the Simplilearn website. On day 0, let's say she's looking to learn digital marketing, right? On day 0, she would get a communication that says, "Welcome, Anisha, to the digital marketing program." A few days after that, she would get a communication that says, "Here are some of the latest and greatest blogs in the digital marketing space," right? A few days after that, she would get testimonials of people just like herself who have seen career advancements after using this program. A few days after that, she gets invited to a webinar conducted by an industry expert just like this for her to gain more trust around the brand. Now, did you notice something interesting across all of these pieces of communication? There is no sales pitch, right? The brand is really not looking to sell anything yet, right? The brand is just looking to give. The brand is not asking anything from Anisha. It's just looking to add value to her. I mean, it's asking her for her time in this case, but the brand is not yet going to ask her for her money. Eventually, the brand moves in for the kill and says, "Anisha, here's a 20% discount code that expires in 48 hours just to build a sense of FOMO." And this is what is referred to as a classic life cycle engagement and nurture drip campaign. And it's called drip because very similar to water dripping off a tap, one after another, these communications go out one after another. Now, you can automate a lot of these across touchpoints, across email, across SMS, WhatsApp, browser notifications, etc., through something called as a marketing automation platform. You can set up the workflows, the templates, the rules, saying on day 0, this needs to go out, on day 4, this needs to go out, day 7, etc., through something called as, like I said, a marketing automation platform. Given before you are some of the world's leading marketing automation platforms. However, almost all of these guys are almost very expensive for an early stage startup. For an early stage startup, I would recommend one of these Sasta or Tikau value for money options. Active Campaigns is my own personal vote for a fantastic, engagement and nurture marketing automation platform. Now, I understand I've thrown a lot of marketing jargon at a lot of you. A lot of you are startup founders. Some of you are just out of college or maybe in college already or still in college. And if I have to explain to you in simple terms, without any marketing fluff, without any marketing jargon, why engagement and nurture and customer journey mapping and all of this is really so important, I'll give you 2 strong reasons. First is your sales team is going to be super productive. Why? Let me simplify this with an example. Again, let's say Anisha runs a company. She has a 5-member digital sales team, right? Who makes these calls. The sales team makes the calls some prospects. They can make 20 calls a day. They work for 20 days a month. She's a good boss. She gives them weekends off. She makes her team work only 20 days a month, right? So which means her team can make 5 into 20 into 20, which is how many? 400 into 5. Yeah, 2,000 calls in a given month, right? Let's assume that each of these calls is a call to a unique prospect so that her team can call 2,000 prospects in a given month. But what does her team do if their pipeline is 10,000 strong, but there are 10,000 prospects waiting to get called? How does her team decide which are the high priority 2,000 leads to get in touch with? That's where the power of AI, technology, marketing automation comes in, wherein using marketing automation, she can create something called as a lead score for each of these leads. which are in her system, each of these 10,000 leads, which is a numeric score on a scale of 0 to 100. Let's say this is a classroom. I'm the class teacher. All of you are my students. And I create a course structure wherein for the final score, your midterm exam has 20% weightage, end-term exam has 20% weightage, Viva has 20%, group work has 20%, maybe class participation has 20%, right? So your final score is a weighted sum of all of the marks that you've got. Higher the score, the better the student you are. Lead score works the exact same way. You can define what are the variables, demographic and behavioral variables that go into the lead score. So I can say that people from metro cities, they convert better than people coming from, so people coming from Mumbai convert better than people coming from Surat, right? For me at HealthifyMe or at Simplilearn. So I give that as a variable, give it a 20% city you come from. Older people convert better than younger people, right? So age is another variable, I give it 20% weightage. These are demographic variables. From a behavioral perspective, I know that people who consistently spend a lot of time on my application, right? Who consistently log their calories, they are more likely to convert than people who don't. So that's a behavioral indicator. I put that as a variable, I give it a weightage. Using all of this, I create that blended lead score. Higher the score, greater is the probability of conversion of that particular lead. Now, all Anisha's sales team now needs to do is to sort these 10,000 leads in descending order of lead score and get in touch with the top 2,000, which means they're spending their time with the leads that are most likely to convert, not wasting their time with leads where the probability of success is low, which means if your sales team is more productive, that's a direct impact on top line and revenues. And the second reason why this is important is that, and I cannot stress this enough, is that a lot of these engagement and nurture marketing automation platforms are by a factor of 10,000 and above more cost efficient for engagement and nurture than Google and Facebook kind of CPC or CPM kind of platforms, which means for the same marketing spend, you get more customers, which means your cost of customer acquisition goes down and your bottom line improves. So two strong reasons why you should use this: improve top line and improve bottom line again. Couple of pro tips I think you need to, especially given the kind of times that we live in where people are talking about a recession, and marketing is usually the second largest cash outflow in any company, in any startup, after people's salary. So you should spend as much time. People, when I think about marketing, they think of this cool new campaign that they want to run on Facebook, on Google, on YouTube, etc. Focus as much, if not more, on engagement and nurture, these life cycle engagement campaigns, as you would on new customer acquisition. The second thing is, which is a quick rule of thumb to follow, you've got to think of this as a relay race, with marketing running with a baton for the first 3 quarters of the race and handing it off to sales for the home stretch. So your drip lifecycle campaigns, you run them for approximately 3 quarters, anywhere from 60 to 80% of your sales cycle, which is why in the Simplilearn case, you saw that the emails to Anisha were going out till day 18, because my sales cycle was typically 30 days, which is why I was sending it out to approximately 65% of my sales cycle. So, and then you let your, so when I know that my sales cycle is 30 days in the Simplilearn case, it would have been stupid on my part if I had mailed Anisha 5 times in 2 days. She would have marked me as spam, right? Or conversely, other end of the spectrum, if I had mailed her once every month, right, she would have probably gone off with a competitive player. So if I'm Infosys, for example, where my sales cycle is 1 year, I'm probably better off sending a quarterly newsletter, right? So you've got to pace out 5 to 7 touch points across covering 3 quarters of your sales cycle is a good coverage from an engagement and nurture perspective for your startup. Some more SEO success stories. I spoke about SEO at the beginning of the presentation. I think the reason I focus on SEO is one of the most unfortunate and disappointing questions that I often get asked from a lot of startup founders like yourself is, how much should I spend in marketing? That's the first question I get asked, which is disappointing because a lot of founders don't seem to appreciate the kind of long-term, scalable, profitable businesses that can be built just by focusing on the power of content and the power of SEO. I want to leave you with a couple of Indian examples just to underscore my point. The first is Thrilophilia. How many of you have heard of this company, Thrilophilia? Quick show of hands on handouts. Some of you have, hopefully. Now, this is the company which operates in the super hyper competitive dog-eat-dog world of travel tech, as you know, which has global multinationals like Booking.com, IBBO Group competing with homegrown, heavily VC funded, deep-pocketed players like Cleartrip, Oyo Rooms, etc., Make My Trip, and all of these players. Against all of this is a company that is completely bootstrapped till date, right? Running only on promoters' own money, the founders' own money, and they managed to hold their own. Till date, their marketing budget is a big fat zero. They do only SEO. They have no money to do anything else. And from an SEO perspective, what they did is they had a very cool flanking approach. Usually the mistake that startup founders make, when you pick up any of these analytics platforms and you look at keywords, which we discussed earlier, they give you 2 kinds of variables about these keywords. One is they tell you the keyword search volume, right? Which is the, what is the kind of search volume? Is that high, medium, low, and the actual number. Second is they tell you the ranking difficulty. How easy or difficult is it to rank? Now, the mistake that a lot of startup founders like yourself make is what? They see a keyword which is relevant to their business, which has high keyword search volume, and they say, I want to rank for that. And they try to create content to rank for that. It's a mistake. Why? Because if you are a late entrant in a category and there is a keyword with a lot of search volume, invariably you will have well-entrenched competitors who are already ranking on page 1 for that particular keyword. So it's next to impossible to break into page 1. And as you know, if you're not on page 1, it's as good as not being there. Nobody goes to page 2 in Google search results. So a lot of founders get demotivated and they leave. What these guys did was they had a very cool flanking approach, wherein they said that screw the high demand keywords. I'm not going to be able to rank for that. Make my interest, they already taken that space. Let me go after the long tail of keywords, right? Which is instead of, I'm not going to rank for resorts in Kulu Manali, resorts in Ladakh. Impossible. I can't rank for it. I'll focus on stuff like holidays and experiences in Kutikanam. Remote locations, I'll pick on holidays and experiences and pick out the long tail of these hundreds of such keywords. So they picked up unheard of destinations in India with limited search volume, and they focused on that USP, which is holidays and experiences, and that's how they managed to grow the brand. The other example is Practo. I'm sure all of you have heard of Practo, India's largest doctors marketplace. They get close to 30 million visits every single month. A jaw-dropping, believe it or not, 90% of this traffic is coming through their SEO efforts, which means they don't pay for it. It's free. I mean, there is no media cost attached to it. There is a time and effort involved in creating content so you can rank on SEO, but from a media perspective, there is no cost attached. And their SEO is so good. Let's say I search for Dr. Anisha Mumbai. Let's say she's a gynecologist there and she has her own website and listed on Practo. Her listing on Practo will come up higher than her own website, right? And I'll end up booking an appointment with her. She'll have to share her via Practo. She'll have to share her consulting fees with Practo. Also want to talk to you about a story of failure. I used to head marketing for this company called Stayzilla.com. Not sure how many of you have heard about this company. It shut down pretty unceremoniously some 7-8 years ago. Probably the first instance of something in India shutting down after reaching close to $70-100 million cumulatively. And we had a really good thing going. We operated in the value and budget space. We operated in the space of affording, giving rooms which were sold at less than 1,000 rupees a night. At one point, we were even bigger than Oyo rooms. A lot of people don't know this. Before we tried to follow the Airbnb model, and it didn't work because Airbnb is still a bit of a taboo. Because Airbnb in India, at least, opening up your spare bedroom for, on a nightly basis, to a bunch of strangers is still considered a bit of a societal taboo in India, and there is not a huge price arbitrage involved as well. So the product market fitment wasn't there. So we tried to focus on doing this in addition to the traditional, to the main cash cow of the business, and that proved to be a huge distraction. So, which is the moral of the story is focus on, make sure that there is strong product market fitment before you decide to invest in any particular category. And the second is don't try to do too many things. Instead of trying to do a mediocre job of multiple things, try to focus on doing one thing and one thing really well. I'm going to wrap up the session with one last section on media exposure, right? I think a lot of founders, there are 3 different ways, right, at a very philosophical level in which you can create exposure for your startup, for your business, for your brand. One is owned, paid, and there is a third one which we don't focus enough on, especially Indian startup founders, which is earned media. Let's try and understand this with a simple example. Let's say Anisha has a company. She has a Facebook page which has 100 followers. She makes a post, doesn't spend any money in promoting it. All her 100 followers would see this. This is owned media because this is her own band of followers. Of course, this is theoretical. We know that Mark Zuckerberg has said that owned media reach, organic reach will tend to 0 as you continue to grow. And it is never at 100%, which means when she has 100 followers, Anisha makes a post, 80 of them would see it. When she has 1,000 followers, she makes a post, maybe 500 of them see it. When she has 10,000 followers, she makes a post, 3,000 might see it. So you can understand where I'm going with this. It's Facebook's own way of pushing Anisha to spend money on the platform because they can see that she's growing, right? But for this particular example, for simplicity's sake, let's assume all 100 of Anisha's followers see her post, right? That's owned media. That's understood. Second is she spends, let's say $100. She gets additional exposure to 10,000 people who are not her followers, but she's getting this exposure for her brand because she has paid for it. It's paid media exposure. All of us get this. Now, there is a third form of media exposure creation, which is a lot more powerful and harder to get, obviously, which is earned media. Let's say that she doesn't spend any money in promoting the content, but the post that she made was so damn good that out of the 100 people who saw it, 50 of them ended up resharing it to their own followers, and each of them had 100 followers each. So now Anisha's brand has now got exposure to 50 multiplied by 100, 5,000 incremental eyeballs that are not her own. So it's not own media. She's not spent any money in promoting it. It's not paid media, but something that she has managed to earn through the strength of her content. Social media shares are a great way for you to unlock, earn media for your brand. There are other ways as well, but social media shares are one of the great ways. And by creating relevant content, it's one of the great ways to unlock, earn media. And when we talk about earn media, we get very close to the holy V word of marketing, which is virality. And no discussion on virality is complete without talking about one of the earliest instances of something actually truly going viral in India. It happened almost 12 years ago, just when social media was taking off in India. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the Kolaveri D song, but not a lot of you might have heard of some of the backroom workings that went into making Kolaveri D the viral phenomenon that it actually became. Now, take a look at this small, funny video that gives you a sense of what were some of the backroom workings that went into making Kolaveri D the viral phenomenon that it actually became.
How much money do you think is required to make a song world super hit? 10 million? 20 million? How much money do you think is required to make a song world super hit? 10 million? 20 million? We spent zero. Close the mouth. I'll tell you how. First, we shot the making of the song and then added subtitles for all the non-Tamilians. Then the most important, we added the caller ringback phone code for making some pocket money. We then put up the video on our YouTube channel and then feeded it on social media platforms, Facebook and Twitter. To get the audience watching and talking about our song, we created a book, hashtag Why This Kolaveri D, which is a commonly used phrase in my state, Tamil Nadu, when somebody irritates you. Next 3 days, full tweeting different irritating situations with the hashtag Why This Kolaveri D, but we also added the link to our song with it. So people who could relate to that irritating situation clicked on the link, watched the song and forgot their irritation. They also understood the usage of the question, why this Kolaveri D? And then they started tweeting about things which frustrated them with the hashtag and also added the link to our song. Basically, people love venting their frustration on social media. And we use this insight to get hashtag Kolaveri trending on Twitter over 3 full days. Even people like Amitabh Bachchan ji and Anand Mahindra ji tweeted. The YouTube views kept on increasing. People were viewing, sharing. More than 41 million views across 220 countries. People love to ape a trend. So we put up a candid video of our own people singing the song in chorus, following which hundreds of people put in their own versions. Some even organized flag mobs, not just in India, even Netherlands and New Zealand. Oh, and by the way,
we get into questions?
caller ringback tones downloaded was 2 million and still counting. This brought us so much revenue that we are still counting actually. Okay, the enormous online buzz pushed even TV and print media to talk about the song. Articles were written on blogs, tabloids, and even newspapers. It was featured in news channels and music channels. Every radio station in the country played Kolaveri. In simple words, earned media is estimated to be more than 67 million rupees only. Money spent, zero. Mission accomplished.
So this is an interesting video. We can play a quick game of truth or dare. There's one thing the person has said, which is the truth, and one thing which is not quite the truth. I think a lot of you can guess it. The fact that they spent zero is actually not the truth. I know for a fact that they actually did spend some money, but it wasn't in very regular, in-your-face ads on Google and Facebook. It was in very subtle forms of communication. They were one of the earliest users of influencer marketing, even before the term caught on. I think that was something cool that they did. The hashtag Kolaveri D, which they did, was what was the glue that made their product relevant to the masses, which was a masterstroke that they did, which is the actual truth. With that, we come to the end of the session. Thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me over, Anisha. I know we're already a little over time. Love to take any questions you might have.
Thank you so much. I think it was really insightful. Let's open it up to questions. Yeah. Anybody wants to ask? Can you hear me clearly? I think I have a lot of questions. I can start by, you spoke about how SEO is so important. What about, did we lose him? Hi, Veda, are you there?
Hi, apologies. I
Yeah.
dropped off by mistake.
So I said I have a lot of questions. I can start by asking you. I mean, you spoke a lot about SEO and you said that that's really important. But what is your take on SEO now with all these LLMs that are now, with ChatGPT and all of that? How does it differ now?
So I'll tell you two things, right? One is if you Google recently released the kind of search volumes that it currently has for the first time. And this number of search volumes on OpenAI, ChatGPT again are public. If you look at the volumes of search which are actually happening on a lot of these LLMs, ChatGPT is the biggest one versus Google. It's not even 1% when it compared to the Google search, and the kind of searches are also drastically different because those are more reasoning queries as opposed to regular search queries which happen. So purely from a search query perspective, it's less than 1% of the kind of search volumes that Google has. But having said that, I think there is this new growing trend and growing chorus that no SEO is the best SEO right now. So as long as you can create content which appeals well to the human being and not just appeals well to the bot, to the search part, then you're in a good space regardless. And you don't need to make a conscious effort to optimize it to rank for maybe an LLM versus a Google search engine, etc. Because a lot of these search ranking algorithms have become so sophisticated that as long as you create good enough content that reads well for a human being, you'll do well regardless of whichever platform you're looking to rank on. But having said that, there is a lot of buzz and noise around how LLMs are taking over search, etc., which is far removed from reality. The statistics show that the actual search is happening. Search, which compete, the relevant searches which are competing with Google search, which happen, are less than 1%. Even if I look at, and I'm sure it's the case for you as well, if you look at the kind of searches for which you use a ChatGPT for versus a Google are totally different. If it is a slightly more a deeper question that you have, which involves reasoning, that's when you go to a ChatGPT. But if you're just looking to find stuff, you're looking to discover stuff, you just go to a search, Google search.
Anyone else has questions?
Yeah, I would like to ask a question if it's okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you for the presentation. Yeah, I wanted to ask in terms of for B2C products, which of the social media channels or which of the marketing channels would you say has the highest return on investment for the products?
So Prashant, so if you look at, I had given a simple framework in the presentation, right? So if you're B2C, you need to look at the category that you're operating in. Is that mass or niche? That's the first question. If it is not a mass platform, then obviously social media becomes a logical choice. And within social media, again, if you're B2C, I think it primarily comes down to Instagram. I don't count YouTube as a social media platform. It's a visually appealing platform, but I don't count it as social media. I mean, the social media platforms, it comes down to TikTok. I'm assuming your target market is India. Even if you're targeting a younger demographic segment, TikTok doesn't really come into play. It's anyway banned in India. So that leaves you with Instagram and Facebook for the most part, if you're B2C. However, if you're B2C and if you're selling to, say, for example, at Simplilearn, we are B2C, right? But we are selling to white collar professionals working at Infosys, Cognizant, earning 15-20 lakhs per annum, living in metro cities, Bangalore, Mumbai, Gurgaon, Hyderabad, Chennai, these kinds of cities. So there, LinkedIn became a logical choice again. So depends on the product and the service that you're selling. But whereas if you look at HealthifyMe B2C, we didn't go anywhere near LinkedIn for B2C. For the B2B business we did, but for B2C we use primarily Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I think Devansh has a question.
Yeah.
Hello. First of all, I would really like to thank you, sir, for this amazing webinar.
Sure.
It was really helpful.
Sure.
Sir, I have an edtech startup. So
just call me Veda. I know I'm old. You don't need to reinforce my call me, sir.
okay.
Yeah.
I have an edtech startup where it's around educating people. It's the core audience is capable of 11 to 12 students. So for that, as I'm and sole proprietor, so I don't have that capital burden and all. So what are the keywords? How to find the keywords for maybe Google AdWords? Because marketing is it's really you don't see the direct results, right? I also
in long case, what I was this year. a sole proprietor, you're not running a VC funded company, you don't have VC money to burn, right? It's your own money, right? So I think one of the things that I would suggest is focus on creating a YouTube channel first, right? That's the first thing, right? Focus on building a community and following. In local vernacular, if you need to, let's say you're focused on in and around Rajasthan, for example. I'm just taking an example. In and around Gujarat, right? Focus on local vernacular plus English. YouTube channel. If you look at Physics Wala, the way they started, they essentially started through their community, right? A YouTube channel. That's when they started. So focus on building a community by creating high quality content. I mean, that is a great start. Right? Getting into Google AdWords and keywords is just too premature, not scalable, especially for a business like yours. That's what I would suggest.
Okay.
Leave everything else, focus on that, doing that one thing.
Okay. So actually, I do have 2 YouTube channels, and that's all I started with. The niche is also, it's a hyper niche, and like design exams are really new to the world. So I actually ranked #1, but still like to expand maybe in the different forms of marketing,
I would say, I mean, you can of course create content which ranks on SEO. That is the, so essentially, long story short, focus on the C word, which is content on YouTube and for ranking on the Google search, right? I wouldn't ask you to spend money, right? I think it's too soon for you to start spending money on the platform and it's not scalable. Focus on ranking on SEO by folks picking specific keywords where you want to rank for, which are your niche. So you don't go up against the big guys who are already on page 1, to my point, right? If you like look at the Thrilophilia example, taking a leaf from that book, that's what I would suggest.
Got it, sir. Sure.
Yeah, wish you all the best, Devansh. Maybe we have time for one more question, Anisha. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there are 2 people who we can just finish. Manan and Pranav. Manan,
Sure.
you can.
Yeah, hello, Veda.
Hi.
Thank you so much for great insights. So, like for early startups, when you're building products, so it's a lot of R&D, right? In terms like as I'm building a medical product for pets, right? So it's very R&D based, right? So in that terms, like how much is it important to focus on SEO and how much should we focus? Because R&D is also
You're a B2B company, Manan?
Yeah, B2B and B2C both.
So see, one of the things that I recommend, and this is applicable for everybody, I think is during the early stage, right from the early stage, is building a strong founder profile on LinkedIn, having a strong personal brand. I think that is super important. I think especially in B2B and also in B2C, lesser so in B2C, but especially in B2B, people buy from people. So if instead of me choosing from a nameless, faceless brand, which could be your company name, I know Manan. If Manan, so I would rather focus on building Manan's personal brand on LinkedIn through your own LinkedIn profile than building your company pages and your company's brand on LinkedIn. Because in LinkedIn, it speaks to multiple kinds of stakeholder persona as well. It's not just prospective customers, prospective channel partners, media partners, investors, employees who you want to attract top talent as you grow, right? It speaks to multiple different people. And if they can see Manan as an authoritative thought leader in this space, who's like a fountain of knowledge, a domain leader in this particular space, I know Manan, he has a name, he has a face. I know that he's gone to the school, he's worked in these companies. I can trust Manan a lot more than this nameless, faceless company. So I would really recommend that you focus on building your own personal brand on LinkedIn. Creating content on SEO, again, helps you build authoritative domain leadership, right? And you're positioning yourself as a domain leader again. And you're using your LinkedIn platform as the anchor for marketing this content. So creating, not all of the content needs to be created by you. You can also curate content which somebody else has created and share your own point of view and your own spin on that particular content as well. So long story short, yes, I think content is super important to position yourself as a thought leader. Content needs to have a purpose, right? I think beyond just the leads and the traffic that you get, I think the real purpose of the content is to position you as the founder of the company as the thought leader in space.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sure, thanks, man.
Thank you so much, Veda. I think whoever had raised their hand, Pranav, I think is dropped off. But this was really very great. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Sure.
And I'm sure there are a lot of questions, but I think we'll keep that for another session. Thank you so much. And it was really nice to spend some time with us on a Saturday.
Sure, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Wish you all the very best of luck in your respective startups. And love to stay in touch. I know some of you have already reached out on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me. Love to stay in touch. Wish you all the very best. Thanks, Anisha, for having me once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here. Can we, thank you everyone.
Thanks so much.
Hi. Hi, guys.
Okay.
Ridhima, you're there? Shanti? Okay, thanks. I don't know if they're there. Thanks, Manan. I think it was good. I mean, expected a lot more people to be there because with so many registrations, anyways, I guess it's a lot of people because it's free. They